今日も答えのない世界の中で願ってるんだよ。不器用だけれどいつまでも君とただ笑っていたいから、跳ねる心臓が体揺らし叫ぶんだよ。今こそ動き出せ。弱い自分を何度でもずっと食らい尽くすこの間違いだらけの世界の中、君には笑ってほしいから、もう誰も泣かないよ。強く強くなりたいんだよ。僕が僕でいられるように。ただ君を守るそのために走る走る走るんだよ。僕の中の僕を超える。
That was so unexpected. I was playing like from 50% on. I was like, I'm gonna die this attempt. No reason for me to think that. I'm just like, I'm gonna fuck this up somehow. I'm gonna get the dumbest last click death of all time, and I'm gonna hate this level. But no, I fluked it from 66. I'd say that's definitely a fluke. That's considered a fluke. Mostly, I'd say because that's before those 2 mini wave clicks. I'll show them on screen or something. Those are pretty hard, and I expected to die there, but I didn't. Awesome. So yeah, second victor, not really, because half the community's fucking leaderboard banned. But yeah, cool level. So I'd say the main issue with it, this is probably gonna leave a bad impression. I did really like this level. A lot of it was really fun. My only 2 gripes is that some parts in the pre-drop, or a lot of the pre-drop, wasn't very fun. That was by far the weakest part of the level, which dragged it down a bit. That's probably the worst place to have your worst part, because you're playing that over and over and over again. And also, the whole level had a bunch of choke points. It wasn't nearly as bad as some other levels I've played with choke points, but you know what, I'll say the obvious. I'll say the elephant in the room. New fucking record. I've brought it up every single video since I beat it. Yeah, there was a part, I have PTSD from 63%. I'm literally gonna turn it into a fucking running gag, where for the rest of my channel, I'm gonna be talking about this fucking part. Other than that, really good. I'll go through each part. The very first half of the pre-drop, my favorite, the gameplay is pretty solid. Again, it's part of the pre-drop, so it's definitely weaker than the post-drop. One issue is that a lot of spikes are really hard to see. A lot of the block designs have a bunch of like plant matter or something on it, and it's kind of hard to see some of the spikes. I say kind of hard. It's literally fucking impossible to see them. There's like pixels, but I mean, it's slow. You can easily like know where, if you know where they are, they're not a problem. You just have to do the timing. But yeah, decoration-wise, the first part looks really, really good. Just in general, I really like the theming to this level. It's already unique compared to other RETA levels because it's red. Kind of ironic how I'm saying a level's unique because it's red, but, you know. But it goes a bit more than that. The theme is, from what I guessed, it's not like super explicit. It's more like a cave. I say that because of a lot of like ground spikes, a lot of just organic looking rocks and whatnot. Yeah, and not a lot of RETA levels have like super explicit theming. Shukufuku is themed after the music video. Shirakami, which isn't even out yet, is themed after cool looking, realistic-ish deco. Like, it looks really good. I know that explanation of Shirakami's deco was really fucking shit, but, you know, I'm bad at words. Anyway, yeah, that's the first part. Looks great, plays alright. The second part of the pre-drop is probably the weakest part gameplay-wise in the level. Some timings were weird. That first green orb is kind of shit, and the wave at the end is kind of gross. It seems really awkward. I can't really explain why. Maybe it's the clicks are just awkward. You hold for awkward amounts of time. And the transition out of it is kind of a really awful transition. Where there's like a black orb right away, and that black orb is usually a timing. What I did to avoid having to time that black orb, which would have been fucking impossible, is if you go up at your last click as a wave, like really early, really high up, you can just continue holding off of that and it does the black orb automatically. But you have to be really high to do that. So that made that part a lot more awkward than it already was. That's not necessarily the fault of that part specifically. It's just more that transition being weird, which more so affected that wave part a lot. Decoration, I like it a bit less than the first part, but it's not bad. It's a bit less focused on the cave theming that I made up. So the gray blocks, in my opinion, look kind of weird, or that color specifically. I think that's just me, but you know, that's that. The first part of the drop is pretty fun for the most part. This is where kind of the questionable balancing comes into play, where some parts are like literally just like a bunch of just super free buffer clicks in a row. You'd see it in like a medium hard demon, and then boom, invisible fucking wave part. Why? And then like there's some more like really difficult timings that are like a lot more difficult than other clicks, which is like, okay, I feel like I'm criticizing this level a lot, and I feel like I'm gonna push people away from wanting to play it. It is really good. Like I'm gonna say in advance, enjoyment like 71 out of 100. It's not like the greatest level in the game, obviously. Electric Forest exists, but it's definitely worth checking out if you like the style of gameplay. The decoration in the first part of the drop, I quite like. Throughout, it's not just this part, throughout the entire level, it's kind of difficult to make out like the background, so I can't really talk too much about that. Maybe it's because I wasn't really focusing on that throughout the level because I was focusing on the fucking gameplay, but you know. But the block design for this part, I like it. It's pretty simple. You've just got some brick objects and a fuck ton of glow slapped onto it. But you know, it looks good, so the simplicity isn't going to take it down at all. The part after that, the block design's a little bit weaker. I just talked about how much I like the block design in the other part, so like, that's not too surprising. It's still really good though. I mean, it's pretty standard glow deco, but I still thought it served its purpose. It was good. Yeah. The gameplay, it's mostly fine. There's one click that you have to click so obnoxiously late. It's a yellow orb in a dual portal. I don't know why. A lot of levels that use this gimmick, it always like is fucking awkward or bugged in some way. I don't know why. I can think of 3, not even including this level, just off the top of my head. This is a call to action to creators to stop doing that, because there's a fucking curse on that click and it fucks it up somehow, so yeah. The next part, it's pretty solid. The gameplay, it's probably the easiest part in the level. Lots of just buffer clicks. It's pretty straightforward. The decoration, it looks pretty solid. Kind of your standard glow deco. It's not the best part in the level, not the worst. Pretty fine. Pretty alright. Yeah, the part after that, I pretty much say the exact same comments about that. The gameplay, it's still pretty easy. It's a lot of buffers. There is like the wave part is kind of tricky, but it's far from the hardest parts in the level. The part after that is really interesting. Gameplay wise, it's kind of strange. When I was first learning it, I was like, this part is ass. But once it got more consistent, I started to appreciate it a lot more. It was really fun to pull off. It still was really frustrating dying there, but actually doing it, you felt really good about yourself. One of the reasons this part is so hard is because it has a really long wave section, compared to the other wave sections at least, where there's like not a lot of pulses, and the structures are black against a black background, so you really can't see shit. You kind of just have to go off of muscle memory. So, yeah. That's a bit of a choke point. Honestly, that part isn't as bad as, like, the pre-drop. I still think the pre-drop is harder, but yeah. The decoration, it looks pretty decent. There is a lot of black, not too much color, but I still do like it. It is very unique to the point where it seems a little out of place. The transition into it, it's pretty solid, but it is kind of abrupt. I don't really know how else you can make that transition better and more like and less abrupt when the part is just so different from other parts. It kind of reminds me of the more core RETA style of RETA levels. So far I've literally only played like the Wazareta, Kuzareta style, like where it's just standard glow deco, just because those levels are easier. But yeah, this level's like overall, not just this part, seems to like take a lot of inspiration from that other style, which is cool. I've been thinking about like how it would be cool to have a RETA level that's like kind of a mix of both styles, and that's kind of what this does, which is nice. I fuck with that. The part after that is a more standard part. The gameplay is pretty fun. It's click sync, where there is like an element of sync in the other parts, but this part seems to do it the best. I'll talk about the decoration first, then come back to this. The decoration is pretty standard, pretty solid. The thing is, there is like some speed lines effects at random impacts, and it like makes a screen a bit darker, and to the point where it's really hard to see what you're doing. But the reason I said I'd talk about this before going back to the sync is because the sync is good enough that it's not as bad as it would be otherwise. Yeah, so that kind of saves that part from a lot of criticism, because you can just kind of click to the music, and the fact that your screen is a bit darker and it's harder to see, that it's still fine. Speaking of dark screen, they built this whole ass end screen only for it to fade to black. Speaking of the end screen, I'm kind of going on an end screen tangent, but for some reason at the beginning of this level, there's a fucking end screen LDM, which is the most pointless shit of all time. Like, who cares if your end screen is running at like 5 FPS? There's no gameplay, so it's like, unless the game literally crashes, you shouldn't need a low detail mode. So yeah, that's random words of wisdom by me. And the very end of the level, gameplay wise, it's a little bit strange, but once you learn it, it's consistent, so that's nice. Strange as in unconventional, not like bad by any means. The decoration, it's fine. It's not the best part of the level, not the worst. It's, you know, it's there. One thing I do appreciate is the last click is not a stupid fucking bullshit green orb timing. Because as somebody who's played like, I don't know, 13 RETA levels or something, those are starting to really piss me the fuck off. So I really appreciate not putting that in this level. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I want to say about each individual part. Overall, I did really like that, even if I critiqued the level a lot. There is a lot of stuff to improve, but what's good is pretty good.
Alright, real talk. I'm editing this right now, and Jesus Christ, I am such an asshole. This level is like genuinely good, but I'm making it look so bad by laying out every single critique I possibly have about the level, in not saying enough like good to counteract it. Genuinely, if this looks interesting to you, please play it. It was fun. I liked it. I cannot stress that enough. I don't know why I'm being such a bitch, but yeah, this level is good. Alright, back to the video.
Difficulty-wise, I'd say it's maybe a bit easier than Shukufuku. The crazy thing is, I beat Shukufuku a fucking year ago. Time flies, you know. Yeah, point is, I haven't played it in a very long time, so it could be a lot easier, a lot harder than I remember. And also, Shukufuku was my hardest at the time, and this is most definitely not my hardest now. So, Shukufuku could be just a lot easier than I remember. But yeah, I feel like this is slightly easier.
it would put that as like an easy tier Extreme Demon on the non-list worthy spreadsheet. So yeah, if you're in that skill range, I'd recommend, or past it, I'd recommend going for this. Fun stuff. Hope you enjoyed watching. Hope you thought my commentary at the end wasn't horrible. So yeah, goodbye.